On this week's podcast, we are celebrating the Legend of Zelda and ask what makes the series so special after all these years. And we try to name the best game in the Zelda series in this week's Pixel Picks Showdown. All this and more on the Pixel Parents Podcast. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Pixel Parents Podcast, the show that discusses all things gaming from the perspective of parents. I am your host Liam Kelvin, and today I am joined by the bearded one, Scott, the Tastemaker Curry. How are we, Scott?
Very well. Very well. Very excited for the future. You know what? I do believe. No, I'm not going to go for it yet. I'm not going to go for it. I'm going to tease you. Drop it in too quick. But no, I'm all right. I've had quite a chilled week in terms of the old games, so it'll be interesting when we start talking about what we're playing, because I've had a very chilled week.
Okay.
And also, I'm quite interested to get into the running topic of this show, because Legend of Zelda, the Legend of Zelda is not my bag.
Oh, well, that's good.
I'm kind of keen to get into what makes it special and why it still remains so highly regarded to this day.
I think it's a good question, and it's going to be fun to dig into it, because obviously this week Echoes of Wisdom is out, so can't believe it's happened already. So yeah, why not?
It's come very fast.
I know this year's disappearing before our very eyes, but I'm glad it sounds like you've had a pretty good week by the sounds of it.
More or less, aye. Just try to take it easy, you know.
As the song goes. Aye, I suppose I think. In comparison, I could say it's a pretty chill week for me as well.
Aye.
You know, going back to some old stuff.
I think that's it. It's been very hectic. It feels like silly season is upon us, and like we were just playing games.
Well, we've had that first dip in the roller coaster, and we're about to go up again.
Aye, we're all going up. It's just like but it was kind of nice just to not have to worry about playing something really quickly.
Aye, well, there'll be plenty of that ahead of us, and
can't wait.
We do it to ourselves. We absolutely do it to ourselves. But I suppose we should get some of the housekeeping out the road before we start. Is that an aeroplane?
You need a helicopter, I'm sure.
It might well be. There's criminals nearby, so it might well be just the police looking for me. This is a chaotic start to the show this week. They've found me, so if I disappear halfway through, you know where I am. But let's get some housekeeping out the road and we can dig into it. So, of course, for those listening, this is the Pixel Parents Podcast, the weekly podcast by parents who game for those who do the same, where each week we discuss all things gaming while raising little ones. And if you want to be part of the podcast, come say hello and share your thoughts with us at Pixel_Parents on Twitter, or write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. And if you like what you hear and want to support the show, you can leave a 5-star review and share this podcast online with your friends, and it really helps us out. And of course, thank you to everyone that joins us each and every week. And if you want to hear the breakdown from this week's PlayStation State of Play, check out the latest Pixel Reacts episode on all your major podcast platforms, where Scott and I will share everything you need to know from the presentation. Was it good? Was it a disappointment? I can't believe they announced Bloodborne 2.
Oh man, I can't believe Starfield is coming to PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced.
Cannot believe it, man.
Cannot believe it. Phil Spencer is actually joining PlayStation. He's done it. He's finally done it.
What about that Switch 2 reveal?
That Switch 2 reveal as well.
Can't believe it.
Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games on VR. Alex is going to be very happy.
He is indeed. I
cannot believe this. And if this all comes true, we've spoken it into existence.
Well, it has come true.
It has, yeah.
This is clearly done after it. But of course, if you want to hear the reactions to that, check out that episode. It'll be live on your feed. So with that out of the way, Scott, what have you been playing this week?
Well, what have I been playing? I've kind of took a back seat on quite a lot of games for a bit. I couldn't really be bothered. Every single time I sat down and wanted to play something, it was kind of like, no. I didn't have the feels for it, so I watched quite a lot of retrospectives this week.
All right, cool.
I've been watching quite a lot of stuff online, so a lot of Legacy of Kain stuff. So I was watching I think I've mentioned them before, but your favourite son on YouTube does excellent retrospectives. He's got one on Metal Gear Solid, but I watched the one on the Legacy of Kain series, which I last watched when my dog was 12 weeks old, and I was at the precipice of launching my head face first through the window because she was driving me insane. But it was just, I'm absolutely buzzing for that game, and I was buzzing for it. And then obviously today they've announced the remaster for Soul Reaver 1 and 2, which I am buzzing about. Literally high on life.
Early Christmas present for you.
The easiest Christmas present anyone could ever buy me. But apart from that, obviously then I've been talking about the return to Dragon Age. And I've slowly been making my way through 2. And I'm still in that zone where I'm not 100% sure whether or not I like it.
Yep.
I like parts of it, but it's also quite far away from Dragon Age Origins that I'm still not there yet. Like, I like the fact that it's all quite kind of self-contained within Kirkwall. Like, you're running about this one zone doing different things. I like the fact that it's kind of fast travel to and from points. So you've got the points on the map and points on the wee bit that tells you where your missions are. You go there, do them, go back, and you do it all again. It's class.
Yeah. Because
you're not really having to like waste time. I still hate my character. Hate him. I hate him so much. Just looks so stupid. He looks... I finally pinpointed the look for him, and he looks exactly like Matthew McConaughey in True Detective.
Oh, right.
But like late Rust.
Right,
like
okay.
Late now. He looks exactly like him.
Right.
So I was just sitting there the other night and I was like, why have I made him like this? Why have I done it? But I've found some characters that I like and stuff, and I'm starting to progress. So I think I've hit, like, you know, I've hit my first major story beat out with Kirkwall, so I've kind of gone out from that, and moving back into places that we already know from Origins. So I'm quite excited about that, but I'm still on that train now. I'm still living that dream, and I've not turned my PlayStation on in a week.
Wow,
my PlayStation has not been turned on in a whole week.
Neglect.
It kind of feels like I am. It's not for any reason. I finished Astrobot. I just turned it off. So you've done your bit. Let's rest now.
Yeah, it's finished.
Rest. But I think I'm going to take some time with Dragon Age, and kind of work my way through that, and then make a decision later down the line whether or not Inquisition comes. But I think it will. Like, I don't think there's any need for me to go out and rush out and buy the Veilguard the moment it comes out. You know, like,
although, I mean, the previews that it's had last week, I was excited for it. I'm very, very excited now. Very excited.
I think if off the back of Origins, if I'd only played that, I'd been on that train with you now. But I'm kind of like, I'll finish 2. I want to play Inquisition again because I remember like romancing that big bull guy.
No, yeah.
Of course, because we all did.
We're all sick in the
head. We're all sick in the head, aye.
Why not?
Just to see what happens. And I just want to play that again because I remember playing it, and I remember the moment where it clicked. Like, I was fighting a dragon in one of the areas, and I was like, how do you beat this thing? Like, how do you actually play this game? And then I looked up a guide on how to do it. I was like, I actually have no idea what I'm doing. I was like, just running about mental. So I think now that I've got a bit of experience in it, I'll kind of work my way through that. But I think after this, kind of depending on where we are, the next one I'll go to is Stellar Blade.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to finally play it. I think I was kind of put off a wee bit after Wukong because they kind of felt too similar. But I'm in the market for weird games, so that's the weirdest that I can think of so far.
Well, that PS5 is getting cold, so it'd be a good time to fire it back up.
Heat it back up again.
I must say, like, you know, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, I'm so happy that it's coming out this year. I'm a little bit apprehensive though, because it's a bit be careful what you wish for, because I know we've got that and then Assassin's Creed Shadows quickly after it. And I will play both because
a controller in each hand.
It's kind of just what are you doing there?
Nothing.
You don't understand. I read it all, but I think I'm really much looking forward to having an RPG again. Obviously, Dragon Age will do that. Not so much Assassin's Creed, even though it's RPG inspired, I would say at this point. But yeah, I think the stuff that I'm cracking up at online is just the standard waves of piss that you can expect from people online. I've seen
character creation stuff and all that. Like,
it's not even just that. It's all the like Elon Musky weird types out there that just think everything is like woke and all that. And I still stand to it. If you use woke as a pejorative, you're a fucking moron, to be honest with you. But it's like, I seen that picture that he put up on Twitter today. Not he, but some clown, and it was like drag on age. And it was like RPG characters in drag, and like, this game's so what? And I'm like, honestly, there's not a brain cell between these.
It's frightening. I was when Concord came out, I saw people doing artwork for characters to try and make them look like sexier. It's like, why do we need to over sexualize everything? Like, they were looking at that one character in it that had like, it was like big armor lady, and it's like, they don't need to be like booby lady every single time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be. I'm quite happy to have these characters, and 9 times out of 10, if I'm creating a character in a game, they're looking weird anyway. Like,
that's part of the fun.
9 times out of 10. Like, when I played SmackDown versus Raw back in the day, I used to just make a big red guy, like the tallest man, the widest waist you could ever give anyone, and his skin was just red, like, and he had horns, and he used to chokeslam everyone. And like, that's what I do in these games. I don't play it for, it's strange because I don't play it for the story or anything like that. And like, it seems stupid to be doing it, and I'm kind of getting better at it as I've got older. But you know, it's the internet's frightening at the moment. Yeah, it's like a long way for a shortcut there. But bringing it back to that point, it's Twitter should be taken away from people. Like, CVC Sunday with a paid blue check mark, 9 times out of 10 they're nuts.
It's true. I mean, it does make me worry a little bit because, you know, we're talking about games from the perspective of parents, right? Yeah. So there will come a day where young ones, whether their own or within our family, are already at that stage, but they're going to be in there, and it seems so intrinsic to gaming that you have to go on. And there's always been like message boards and stuff like that, but Twitter, the outrage cycle and what that comes with it, and it's like, it does make me long for a more innocent time. Yeah. You know, but it's like, if you wanted to say something about a game, you write into a magazine or something like that. But
maybe there's a space in the market for something like that, where it's like, you've obviously got Discord, which you know, a lot of gaming people, like the community, will use, but that seems more community driven. So like, if we have a Discord, if we ever decide that we're going to have a Discord for this channel, it would be community based, where we can talk rubbish with each other. Whereas if you have like, and then you have like Reddit, whereas like, you know, anyone's invited, but it's just there could be something there. Like, it doesn't, your posts are, you know, vetted. Like, people actually look at what you're writing, because it's just, I mean, I'm all for free speech, but some people also need to shut up sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. You know, just, you know, I always use this analogy, which is like, opinions are very much like assholes. Everybody has one, but I don't need to see it all the time or ever.
Apart from mine.
That's it. But that's for a different podcast. It's definitely something that just always comes around in waves to try and crap on it, and it's like, this is an awesome looking game. Yeah. And the thing that the irony is, you can play it any way you want, particularly an RPG. Yeah. And giving someone within a community, so if you wanted to, you know, only romance men or women or elves or anyone in between, you can do that, but it doesn't take away from how you're going to play it. You know what I mean? It's like, if you want to just go down straight and narrow, go for it. Yeah, like, that's true. But the beauty of these games is that it gives you the option. Yeah. You know, it's like Baldur's Gate. I know. I was a total slag in that game.
I mean, it's as soon as anyone mentioned it to me, I was like, do you know what? So like, I think I worked my way through Shadowheart, Karlach eventually, Gale. Didn't go for Astarion just because everyone else did. Oh, everyone loved Astarion, so I was like, nah,
the sweetheart.
You can't have any.
So charming.
Oh, he was. And then what was the green? What was her name again? I was going to say Zamora, but it's not. Is it Bobby Zamora?
You've already said Karlach.
Barclays man.
I killed her at the start.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
The green lady.
Yep.
Or Karlach.
No, I killed her, took her armor, and gave it to Carl. So I was like, this is your gift.
Got a green lady, Baldur's Gate, but I worked my way through all of them, and it was just like Lae'zel. That was it.
That's right. That's right.
Honestly, it's just, you're right. It's these games promote choice, so choose what you want. Just
That's the beauty
let
of it.
everyone do it. I'm going to make Sting again.
Oh yes,
Sting is my new creative character. He's my creative character in all these games, and I forgot about it. I forget when I'm doing it, but I'll remember. So Sting's going to go on that.
I always try to go
Dragon
for
Age journey.
The either I'll go one or two routes. So I always try to like create the ultimate Belizean badass. So just this big, bald black dude, and it's probably just more in tribute to my grandfather. Or I'll try to create the ultimate like female barbarian badass. You know what I mean? Just to kick ass and take no shit. And I think that's probably inspired a lot by Cassandra from
Assassin's Creed, aye.
Because I absolutely love my time with her. But yeah, I mean, Veilguard, I can't wait, and I think it could be something special.
When is it out again?
31st of October.
Oh, I've not got long then.
Happy Halloween.
I'll need to finish 2 tomorrow.
That leads me on to my week. Right, so obviously the past few weeks we've been talking about like your journey with Dragon Age. So same thing, finished Astrobot, and I was kind of like, what do I do? And there's been a couple of nights over the past week where I've just kind of, my wife's been out about with her friends and stuff, so I'm like, okay, I've got the night to myself, put the kids down, and I thought I'm just going to browse Game Pass and just find something again. I was like, I want an RPG, but I'm kind of not wanting to overplay Starfield for now.
Yeah.
It's because obviously Shattered Space is coming, so I'm like, what will I do? And I thought, I'm going to go back to Dragon Age because I haven't played that in far too long. I had less grey hairs. And went back to it, and it was great. I just found myself getting sucked in, but then I was also so distracted just by how far we've come. And the Xbox does a fantastic job of upscaling everything, but it's the hands.
Yeah.
The AI massive hands. It's just funny just looking at it, just how almost primitive it looks now. And at the time I remember being thinking, wow, man, this is the future, and it's so muddy, and it obviously suffers from brown syndrome.
Is it?
Every game being so brown. Origins,
aye. It's fantastic. I love it. Honestly,
fantastic.
I would count it up there. Like, if we talk about favourite games of this year, it's probably like number 2.
Yeah.
Maybe 3. Because it was a great time.
Of all the RPGs you could have like stumbled into, you've picked the right one.
That was great.
You know what I mean?
I had such a laugh with it.
And that was like, I wouldn't have played that game without Mass Effect, because I'm high in BioWare at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's go check this out. And fond memories, but I thought, I'm not going to do that. So I've been kind of ducking and diving all the way through things, and I've settled on stuff. So, of course, my go-to in between stuff, of course, has been Marvel Snap. Right? Time for a sad Marvel Snap.
Oh, okay.
Right? But I've been playing it a lot this week. So I'm top of the Alliance, and I mean top, right?
Jesus Christ.
So
let's see what does that mean for?
So we've got a target to get like 4,000 points. I finished the week on 17,000.
That's outrageous.
And the Alliance reward is 56,000. So you can do the math as to how much. And there's been a little bit of a kind of quiet competition between me and number 2, but I just wanted to see if I could do it.
Yeah.
And I've done it a couple of times before, but never to that scale. And there's been a lot of cool new cards coming in, activate abilities in there. So if anybody's dropped off and wants to get back into it, there's a new ability, like a new archetype that they're building out. And it's all around Symbiote Spider-Man, Aranya, and Madam Web, who's not activate. And today we've got Scarlet Spider, which is good, but it still feels too slow to acquire the cards. And I'm still enjoying it. I have noticed how I'm playing it's different. Where it used to be I want to get to Infinite every month, and I've since just played I don't care. Like, just I'm just going to do everything else. So it's taking the pressure off. But Hela is back in the meta because of this activate ability. And oh Christ, it's dreadful. It's just brain drain type of deck.
Yeah.
Like, you're playing it, and that's the thing that annoys me about the game is I want to see more creative deck building, and it's just YouTube recommended decks, and it's the same one, like there's Blade, there's Luke Cage, there's Hellcow, right, okay, and you know what's coming, the Hela drop, and then all of a sudden you've got Infinite and Giganto and all that, all these high power cards, and it's like, so you end up just retreating, and it's just not fun. And that's the thing where I'm at just now. I'm like, I think the game just needs a wee kick up the bahookie just to freshen it up a wee bit. I don't know what they do, but
they put Thunderbolt Ross in there.
They should. I mean, Red Hulk's fantastic.
Red Hulk.
But
I saw a tweet today. It was I think it was a guy called David Cooper. He draws a lot of Simpsons characters. He draws a Simpsons character a day, and he's like, did no one ever think like there was something weird about a man called Thunderbolt Ross and releasing a film called Thunderbolts or something like that? It was something daft like that. It's just like, no, it's stupid to him, but
nobody tell him.
He'll figure
it out.
But it's interesting to hear that there's still changes being made to Marvel Snap. Like, you'd think that, you know, eventually there would be a drop off in the support that they give to it. Do you know what I mean? Like for a mobile game.
I mean, the second I don't know what they're doing. They deliberately do a lot of OTA patches and then official big patches as well, just to freshen up and update cards. So if there's ones that are just too high in the play rate, like I'm sure you'll remember from your time, like Galactus was huge at one point. They nerf him, and then they've got
he is huge.
Yeah, it's huge. He's bloody massive. But they had like Doc Ock was running rampant. So they took 2 power off him and changed his ability slightly so that it just tweaks it. And then if they know there's going to be a season that's focused on a certain archetype, they'll tweak cards around it,
right? Just
to try and move the meta. So they've always got their hands around it.
That's what you want, though. That's what fighting games do. They change things all the time. Like,
yeah.
There's this constant patching and sort of flipping different things. So it is good. It's just surprising for how long it's been about. Like,
and that's 2 years now since I've played that game.
Is that
every day
it?
For 2 years.
It feels like it's been out forever.
2.5 if you count the beta. But I didn't play the beta, but I've played this game for 2 years.
Even just for 2 years for a mobile game that, you know, doesn't show any signs of stopping.
No, it doesn't. And do you know what? I'm still going to be playing it. You know, even to the point where I'm thinking, right, I'm going away in October, and I'm hoping there's decent Wi-Fi there so that I can just get my fix in every day. Just check in. That's all I do. But
take a Starlink.
I think I might.
Buy a Starlink.
I think I might. What's that for? Nothing. You know what I mean? Just disappear into the toilet. But yeah, outside of that, I then decided to go back to a game that I've been playing recently, and I had only just realised it's only been out for a month, and it feels like it's been out for donkeys, and that was Star Wars Outlaws.
Ah, right.
So I'm back in hard on that game, which I'm pleased to say. I know it's not going to last with Zelda FC25's coming out this week as well, but the Platinum Charge is on. It's on. And I have to say, the game has really opened up to us at this point, now that you can just focus on the syndicates and the reputation management. So all the stuff that the kind of game promised,
right,
is doing it outside of the main story. The main story is probably the thing that lets it down, because it was repetitive, like, oh, there's another Imperial base, like sneak about, the insta-fail stealth and all that. Some people are great, so on me, I'm just kind of like, oh no, just try it again. It's cool. It's a big deal. But it's delivering on that space scoundrel fantasy, and I'm absolutely loving it, man. Like, I still stand by the score that I gave it, because I know it's not up there. I still think it's a good,
still a good 7, game.
Which is a good game, but I am just really, it feels like Star Wars, and it's just going through there and playing as KVS. I absolutely love the main character, and you know, it's letting me do a little bit more with my ship, which is great, because you know me, I love anything that's like space dogfighting and all that. And it's been just great fun, just kind of get this cargo, deliver it, steal from this person, steal from that, navigating and getting a better understanding of that reputation system and starting to play it. So I've maxed out reputation with 4 of the syndicates, and obviously that doesn't stay that way, because you give one, you take away from the other. So I'm on the last one now, and it's kind of like the downhill charge, and it'll just be like the wee things to do off the back of it. So I reckon I'm probably only about 10 hours off that platinum. That's good. I reckon, which is decent. But it's one of those, I think, speaking of games that get a lot of controversy, that one, I would really, if you were thinking about it, wait till January, wait till the sales and all that come, and it is worth picking up if you're interested in Star Wars.
I don't have to, because I've got it on my...
You've got it.
I've got it on the PlayStation sitting anyway, and it's one that I hovered over a few days ago, before I went back and played Dragon Age 2, but it is something that I will eventually play it. and I'll come back to you and give you the lowdown.
I will say, like, full transparency, the opening isn't great. It's dead slow. Aye. It takes a couple hours to get into it. They could have handled that better. I thought, it'd be great if you were like opening it up and you're like running away in the spaceship from the Empire or something like that, or from other smugglers. But I really have enjoyed the lack of Jedi.
That's good.
And this,
that is what you want. No, because we're talking about that before. You get a bit stagnant.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy this game more than Jedi Survivor.
Right, okay.
Which is
high praise.
It is. Jedi Survivor, just, I don't know what it was about it. It felt like a game that was built on an engine that wasn't supposed to do what Jedi Survivor's asking it to do. And put it that way. So it always had this feeling of like, this is going to break. And Outlaws has been lambasted for way less of the stuff that I've seen in Survivor, to be honest. But hey, that's life. And outside of that, I suppose I want to give an update, right? So we know this week, right? So Sony have come after us all again and announced these ultra sexy 30th anniversary
disgusting
limited edition consoles and accessories. Scott, the Pro bundle, which only has 12,300 units. So I really doubt
take away the 1,000 units they give to folk.
On that note, actually, I remember they did it with the 20th one, the PS4s, and I remember at the time, same thing, limited, and it just, you have to give it away to influencers, right? But make a stock for them.
Yeah.
It really sticks in my craw, as they say. Sticks in my craw when I watched the video from PlayStation on YouTube about it, and they showed it all off, like, look at this new hotness. And it's like, we want to celebrate the fans. And I'm like, yeah, but not all of that allocation is going to go towards them. Not that influencers aren't fans, but it's a part of influencer culture which always pisses me off. And
I mean, until we get to that point where we get it, and then we'll be like, it's the best thing ever.
Well, I know. It's fantastic.
Like,
Hashtag sponsored by Sony.
A free Xbox.
Yeah.
I don't mind if I do, Phil Spencer.
If I do,
I mean, I actually do love Xbox. I love everything that Xbox has ever done.
just you turn up one day, full Xbox hats and all that.
Xbox tattoo. Indoctrinated by Xbox. No, I'm fine. Don't worry.
But you get to, there's some influencers out there, I suppose, that get, and this does sound like green cheese, but it's not so much that. It's just that it's mixed messaging, and I'm looking at it from a marketing perspective, which is, I get it, you want it to celebrate the fans, but make a special edition for the influencers for, right, use the guys that have helped push your brand, and we want to thank you for that, because they should, frankly. Give it to them, and it's not even, you can't even say like, oh, Games Press get everything for free. It's not Games Press, it's getting it. It's influencers. It's some dude with a TikTok channel somewhere that's getting millions of views.
Spudman.
They're front of the queue now. Spudman.
I hate Spudman. I hate Spudman. I'm sorry. I hate him.
Just wait till next week when he's showing his PS5 Pro.
Man, I will. I'll honestly, I'll be putting it in a baked potato, cover it in chili.
Oh, Jesus.
Chili and cheese.
There's too much in the container.
Too much. Oh my God.
But of course, I digress.
I'm turning heel.
I'm turning Taz. I digress. But the bundle, so I looked at it naturally. So I'm in the market. I'm going somewhere with this. So I'm in the market. And the 12,300 units fills me with immediate anxiety, because that just tells me, right, there's no chance. There's no chance of getting one. Yes.
Jesus.
So there is no chance in hell. And I actually thought they were doing the PS5 Pro standalone, which they're not. They're doing it as a bundle, which comes with stand, some paper clips, some cool USB cables, and some other like cable wraps featuring the sacred symbols, and of course a 30th anniversary DualSense Edge to cap it off, which absolutely banger of a bundle. Be like, well, what's the price going to be? Now I'm looking at it thinking that's £1,200 just with the markup alone. Even though when you calculate it all, it probably will likely be £1,000. But I do still want to try to get one. And it's
keep it boxed and don't open it, and buy another PS5 Pro.
I suppose I could actually. You can sell it for double. No, you're putting ideas in my head. But it's stuff that I don't need but I want. That's the curse that we nerds have. But I'd be delighted if I still got a pre-order away this week for the base.
I think you will.
So I'm going to have two windows open. We'll see. I do think we totally saw the price confirmed at State of Play, so we know how much it costs.
I know.
Because this is in the future.
And it's actually been bundled with an Xbox. Phil Spencer told me.
He's sending you a free
He's sending
Xbox.
me messages, me.
But by the time, obviously, this goes out,
Yeah.
come check my Twitter and see if I've been successful. But the reason why I'm in the market is because if you remember from last week, my hustle with Pokemon cards.
The big hustle.
So I did manage to find a buyer for the cards, I'm pleased to say, via a Facebook group. Very nice chap, I have to say. He was a Pokemon buyer and seller anyway, runs a business doing it.
Cool.
So we managed to settle on £500 for the collection, which the collection, to be fair, at its max could have been worth maybe double that. But when you inspect the cards, you're like, they're close to mint, but I wouldn't say they're mint.
So obviously you're doing it through Facebook. Did they come and look at the cards?
So it was a Facebook group, which is Pokemon Buyers and Sellers UK. So it's just a group exclusively with people just shifting cards.
That. Mm-hmm.
And yes, so I got added to a chat on Friday just for buyers, and it was one guy who's active in the group that's kind of a bit notorious because he's, playing people a wee bit, like, I'll buy them, gets the cards, he's like, runs away with the money. But I did I thought, bugger, I'll put a message in the chat, I've got a vintage set, featuring X and Y, I'll get photos together. Luckily I had my spreadsheet so I could itemise it. And this guy got to me straight away, did a wee side chat in Messenger, and he was just like, yeah, if you can send us the pictures, I'm like, cool, if you can wait till tomorrow, because I thought it was going to take me ages, it took 10 minutes. I sent him all the pictures, and then I had all the holos, and I put them all in mag cases, so presentation counts, but it is to keep them nice. And I must admit, they looked the part. They did look the part, and he only wanted to see about 9 of them close up, front and back. So sent him those pictures, and there was a handful of cards that would have been great. There was like a shiny Vaporeon and Electrode. I can't remember who else. There was a Pikachu one, and there was one more, a Vileplume. But they were laminated. Stupid me, as a child, had them laminated, or I must have traded them for a laminated card. So I kept them to the side, and I gave them to my son. I was like, look, I had these when I was a wee boy. Maybe you want to start your own collection. So he's finding wee places to put that. He thinks they're dead special and stuff. So I'm glad that I've still managed to retain something out of it, because I'm very happy that it's been sold, and I've managed to get some funds in the coffers for the Pro now. So that'll effectively pay for itself, because I do decide to sell the base model sorted. Although I'm still thinking about keeping it. We'll see. But
I know your reasoning for it, but it's also just, it doesn't make sense.
It's succession planning, Scott. So I'm thinking, if in a couple of years' time, because my son he's been playing Astrobot more this week, and it's still frustrating to he's taking tantrums and stuff because he doesn't, he still can't comprehend 3D space. So, I mean, he's only 4, but I'm thinking, if he still wants to play, I've got something there in stock that can do everything to an exceptional standard, and it's like, that can be yours, and he can play with that and muck it up, and I don't care at that point. Or it's just something else when the PS6 comes round, just to add an extra £100 or something onto it.
See what you mean.
So I'm happy but sad that they've gone, because there's a lot of good memories in those cards, like opening the pack for the Charizard and the Dark Charizard in the local shop. And I just remember going like, oh my God, like I can still see the lady in the shop's face. So, do you know what this is? Oh my God.
She's like, yeah, it's a Dark Charizard. You need to keep that so you'll sell it in 20 years.
She just looked at me, looked through me.
Aye.
Just like that. Get out my shop. You scoundrel. But the way I look at it is, do you know what? Those memories are banked up there.
Yeah. Does this guy have a presence anywhere else?
No.
So like a lot of these people, like Pokemon buyer and sellers, or people who collect, have like TikToks or YouTube channels. Nothing like that.
Nothing. He's strictly a business, and there's lots of them out there that I've learned. They just rotate these collectors cards.
It's cool though. That is cool.
It is cool, and I think if you're sitting on one, so if you're similar ages to ourselves, you're probably sitting on cards that are part of a vintage set. I would definitely recommend just taking a night, really be honest when you're evaluating them. Are they in good nick, are they bad nick? If they're in good nick, put something in there to protect them. And you never know.
Yeah.
You know, you never know. A lot of these cards that you think aren't worth a lot are actually worth some. And the fact that I was looking through them and I had like a pre-release and 2 first editions in there, like proper old school ones, it was like, that's pretty cool, just sitting on that. But it goes to someone else now. They'll sell it, and I'm sure there's a collector out there that's about to be very happy to just get a couple of these cards. But yeah, that's the end of the Pokemon hustle. So the next time you hear me talk about Pokemon, it's probably just going to be an actual video game, to be honest, on Switch 2.
When they've announced it on the State of Play tonight.
I couldn't believe it, man.
State of Play on Tuesday. It was great.
But yeah, I think it's time on that note, speaking of Nintendo, we should move on to our main topic this week, which of course we've titled Zelda. What makes the series special? You know, so the Legend of Zelda. So Zelda. God. Aye, I had the fake one growing up. One of those wee controllers you plugged into the telly. No, let's start again. The Legend of Zelda. Not many game series has the same longevity. There's obviously a few, but not many as this, spanning decades, consoles, you name it. So we as gamers, we've had a very long love for adventuring as Link in Hyrule and to save Princess Zelda again and again and again and again and again. So I'm just wondering, with Echoes of Wisdom coming out and we're shaking it up, so we're going to be playing as Zelda, which is great, not technically for the first time. I'm wanting to ask, what does make this series special? And I've done this on purpose because I know that you're not the Zelda aficionado as much as I am. Not that you don't like the games. You do.
I'm not the biggest fan of Zelda games,
but I think it's undeniable that this is on like the Mount Rushmore of games. You know,
it's legendary. Do you know what I mean? It's in the name.
Say.
The clue's in the name. I think that it keeps it simple. Like,
yeah,
the concept of it, it's the same, literally the exact same as Mario. You save the girl. Like that's it. It's just a hero fantasy. But Zelda does it in a way that they're actually not different at all. You just have a sword and a shield. Like Mario has power-ups, Zelda has power-ups, like Link has power-ups. God, have I just stumbled upon something in my own head? I don't know. I think that the jump to Ocarina of Time and the way that it now goes has made it so special. Like, there's always this technological leap that you have with these games that you go from these 2D platformers to then, you know, you have the 3D and now you've got, you know, Ultra Tears of the Kingdom, you know, the massive Roman open world. It always moves with the times. Like, it's never, you never feel like a Zelda game is out of time. Even the ones that were, you know, back in the wee days, like my favourite ones, like, you know, Skyward Sword, they always done something to kind of latch on to whatever was going on at that time. So you had your Wii interface and stuff like that. So I think that although it's telling the same story almost every single time you play that game, it's always doing it in a way that is relevant. Yeah,
I totally agree. I mean, whenever one of these games releases, it feels like a moment in time, and you're right. Ocarina of Time, I think, made it pushed it into overdrive. I think at that point, not that its predecessors were bad, but they were still like some of the best games you could get on the consoles at the time. But whenever they release, me personally, and I know everyone else does, everyone just gets lost in them in a good way. You know, like, just, I'm just going to do nothing else. And I recall when Breath of the Wild is a recent example. Breath of the Wild had came out, and it was a few days or a few weeks beforehand, Horizon Zero Dawn had came out, and people literally just forgot about that game. And it was just because, like, I need to play more Zelda. Like, I can't stop myself. And there's a sense of wonder, magic, despite, like you says, retreading covered ground time and again. And we keep coming back for more.
Go back for more.
That in itself is special. And I think it is magic.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can describe it.
There's also something to be said with the returning characters in it.
Yes.
Like, you know, I can't tell you before Ocarina of Time, and I know I've played these games, right, but in my head I can't remember a thing. But going back to Ocarina of Time, where you go up to you see the Gorons and all that.
Yeah.
Like, you can see that then. You play Tears of the Kingdom now and they're there.
Mm.
Like, you've always got this touch point where it's like, I watched you dance in Ocarina of Time. Do you know what I mean? Like, that wee song. But it is just, it's the same characters are there every time. Like, you've always got this wee bit of nostalgia every single time that you play it. And I think that's just so typical Nintendo. Like, it's they're always kind of doing that to you. They're giving you nostalgia in games when they don't really have to. It's like, it's not a game series returning for the first time. It's a game series that has, you know, regular releases. It's just, aye.
I mean, it is. I mean, innovation is something that comes to mind with. I'm going to come back to the nostalgia point, but whilst I remember, innovation is something that comes to mind with Zelda. Without, it's not trying to recreate the wheel. You know, it's not trying to beat it. It's just looks to constantly change itself just enough to push the boundaries within itself and just go one better within those kind of fantasy lines that it's drawn. So it has to have a story, it has to have the characters, it has to, it's like, these are the hallmarks which we must retain. Very much like Mario, as you said.
It's just Mario.
But I think, you know, nostalgia is something that really heavily plays into Zelda. And it's not the be-all and end-all. For us, it might be. Come on to that later. But I think there's a massive element of nostalgia. And for me, it's kind of that certain brand of games magazine, you know, calling Nintendo Ninty style, like, nostalgia that comes with it, you know, kind of like, oh, they're your pal. You know, they've been nicknamed. And, you know, we do probably have a tendency to put it within that kind of rose-tinted frame, I think. So if you're of a certain age, like I said, it's going to hold a special place in your heart, very likely, to be honest. But the downside is it might slightly be a little bit critique-proof in that sense.
I get that, yeah.
Because when it comes out, there's no question. Like, these are going to be tens, unless they massively drop the ball. Don't see it happening. Or if they do a spin-off that doesn't feature those hallmarks, like Hyrule Warriors, which wasn't a bad game, but it's like, it's not getting tens across the board. But that nostalgia element is, of course, massive. And that being said, they still continue to be enjoyed by generations, new and old.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really does surprise me with it. Nintendo across the board, that's what they're the masters at, aren't they? So it's obviously doing something right. I mean, me, myself, I'm looking forward to playing through Echoes of Wisdom, and I've been trying to get my son to play like the Link's Awakening remakes. I thought this is perfect because he's much better at the 2D style games, even though it's kind of 2.5D. It's very much like, it's cutesy art style. Yeah. The only thing that concerns me is like the puzzles, because I remember like
they're difficult.
They are difficult. I remember even trying to play like the original Legend of Zelda back in the day, and I was so shite at it because I'm just like, I can't figure this out. There's nothing like we kind of go against linear games as we get older. So I don't want my handheld, but you really do need.
Oh, you do need it at that point, you know?
And it feels like the step up. It's almost like, let's start you in Mario. It's like Nintendo. Start you in Mario. We'll move you up to Zelda. Maybe move you up to a Metroid, and then off you go. Like, there's your PlayStation and Xbox, that type of thing. But you'll always come back for this, which is exactly what I'm finding myself doing here in my mid-30s, not 40s. But I think everybody's... The thing that I find what makes it so unique as well, so everybody's going to have their favourite in the series, no matter who you talk to that've played Zelda games. You know, you'll likely like Ocarina. Right, okay, we get it, but I don't find that at all. I find that everybody has a different one outside of that, and they appreciate it, ourselves included. But if you look, it's not like a GTA, right? So you're getting pretty much the same game, but it's prettier and denser each time.
And they're different. Like,
they are.
It's like, if your favourite is Ocarina of Time and my favourite is, you know, Skyward Sword, there is elements in those games that are the same, but they are very different.
Absolutely.
Like, I think that's the good thing, is that you're not, it's, as you say, it's not like Grand Theft Auto. Like, the difference between Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto 5 is, you know, the gameplay is pretty much the same. It's just, it looks better.
Looks better. And they've done a wee bit more in the world and the story. That's really it.
So it's just things like that. But they always manage to create this world that is different, and like, you know, Aye,
They're
they're always-
masters.
Yeah.
Masters at it. Like, they're masterfully weaving in those unique hooks. So whether it is like Twilight Princess, let's use the Wii remote, or like the DS games, let's use the touchpad, all that type of stuff. And they're doing that in a way that keeps it fresh, but it distinguishes it away from the rest of them, which is it's special to be able to do that, because all too often we see in games there's a series that's recurring, keeps coming back, and they don't do much with it. I mean, take myself for example. I love Assassin's Creed, but I know that's hardly the gemstone of iterations. They're not doing what Zelda. In fact, the reason why Origins is probably so beloved is because that's the first time they really
Aye,
shook
they did
things up.
something different, yeah.
And I'm very much in the camps like, don't get again. I like that. Just keep that. But because they're talking about shaking up the gameplay in different ways, and I suppose Zelda is teaching us that it's okay to do that, and you'll find success in doing that, because we know the next mainline Zelda game isn't going to be Breath of the Wild or the Tears of the Kingdom like follow up. It's going to be something completely different, and it might have those. They've already said, I think Zanuma has already came out and said, like, we're going to keep it open world.
Yeah.
But they'll find something.
Something different.
They'll find something. They always do. And even the ones that I hate to say are considered low points in the series, and, being a low 10 is
What
still better.
are the low points?
Within the fandom, I think it always comes down to Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword.
Genuinely my two favourite Zeldas.
And they're not bad games.
I love them.
But I think it is just because of the Wii and how it kind of made you play it in a certain way. That's what I always remember. Even though it was like, I couldn't get my head away. And the thing the series always does to me is that I lower my expectations and it still manages to blow me away.
Yeah.
So I remember playing Twilight Princess and thinking, it's going to be a Wii game, innit? It's going to be like Zelda for your granny. Like, swing the sword. And it's not that.
No.
It's a full, bona fide, meaty Zelda adventure. And that blew me away at the time. But
it's class. I'll honestly, I'll fight every single person in the Zelda community, because Twilight Princess needs this day in the sun.
Your list is growing.
I'll fight everyone. I'll take all comers. But Twilight Princess is up there, like in terms of story and stuff like that. And if I had a Wii right now, I'd play it over anything. I'd play it right now.
I mean, it's an incredible game.
It's fantastic. I just want it on Switch. I just want to have it on Switch so I can play it again, and I don't have to go and buy a bloody Wii. I'm
still shocked that they haven't. They did Skyward Sword before that, but I understand why, just because it's newer.
Yeah.
And it would be probably less of a task to get it up to speed. But, it's at low point is probably a bit harsh. It's probably more the controversial entries in the series, I would say.
I know what you mean.
Even at that, they are still absolute bangers. Like, it has such a impressive track record. And if we look outside of just critical reception and all that, one thing I think that does make it special is that sense of adventure you get from it. Very few games can achieve that. I mean, I'm sitting playing like Outlaws, for example, and that's a space adventure, but it still feels like you're going through a theme park. I know, I was tapping my mic here. It feels like you're going through a theme park, as opposed to there's a genuine sense of freedom. So even from the very first Legend of Zelda, they trust the player. They'd be like, right, here you go, no weapons, whatever, off you go. And they trust you just to kind of go in whatever direction and get your way through these dungeons and monsters and all the rest of it. And they reward that exploration.
Yeah.
Whether it's a new ability, item, you name it, helps you in your quest to save Princess Zelda. But that's such a rewarding feeling, and that sense of discovery fuels adventure at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, trusting the player to kind of forge their own path. It's a winning approach, even though it is still
it's true though.
On, it's still on rails within a certain degree, because obviously it's pushing you down a certain path to be like, right, well, you can't go here, so you need to go there, so get that item to go there, to then go there, that type of thing. But
sounds a lot like Dark Souls.
It does. I mean, you'd not
our Dark Souls Zelda likes.
Man, maybe you never know. By the way, like with the impact of Elden Ring, could you imagine the next Zelda game?
It's just massive open world Zelda.
Just with like they just focus on the combat. That's probably been, the combat's always been really simplistic.
Aye, there would be something really cool about having a Zelda game where Link is, he's obviously this hero and stuff like that, but having the skills to kind of match it. It's not just random sword strikes. It's like he has all the tools there, but there is also something quite nice about him just being a wee guy like who can do it. You know what I mean? Like there's something really cool about that. So I don't know how far you can stray from it, but there's just, you know, the kind of the one that sticks with me was Tears of the Kingdom last year?
Oh,
and you know me, I didn't click with Breath of the Wild at all, but Tears of the Kingdom latched onto me like a leech. Like I literally couldn't get it off, and it's just it made everything better, but it was things like, you know, the things they need to change, like for the next Zelda, it's just like weapon durability and all that. Like,
see, I didn't mind it.
It's just annoying. Like it's one more thing that I don't really have to worry about. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's because I'm a lazy gamer. So it's like if I get my class and my weapon, and I'll probably find it a third into it, it's like, I'm not changing it.
Yeah.
Don't even care. Or I'll get a big fire one, don't care, that's mine. And it forced me out of my comfort zone to experiment and try, which is at the heart of that game. I mean,
putting apples on like random bits of wood.
It's just kind of creating different elemental arrows and stuff and all that, just with items just lying about. There's the fuse mechanic, but I think I've been putting a lot of thought into it just to kind of like why the series is special. And I think that the love and attention to surprise players, like we talked about there with with Tears of the Kingdom, but the handheld entries in particular, you know, Link's Awakening, you've got Spirit Tracks, Link Between Worlds, for example, all on different consoles. But I remember thinking these are going to be solid 6 out of 10s when I was playing them. Maybe not so much Link's Awakening, because I'm not thinking that at that age, but they're some of the best gaming experiences I've ever had.
So I don't have much love for those. It was always the Minish Cap for me.
Yes,
I love the Minish Cap.
It's the what'd you call it? The Capcom developed one, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah,
that's like the hipster choice. I emulated that when we were at uni, and I went through a period where I was just playing games on my laptop rather than doing work, and
that's uni.
It was phenomenal. Like it does daft wee things, and it just kind of it changes it up, and it's great.
It doesn't let up on the quality. I mean, the thing that always got me is my wife, girlfriend, obviously back then, and the DS like managed to stretch across people who are gamers and non-gamers, and will never see a game. And she bought her a DS because she wanted one, because brain training and all that stuff. But I played Spirit Tracks.
Brain training.
I know. But she played Spirit Tracks. I had to buy her own copy, and she played through Spirit Tracks. She's not a gamer at all. But it was just the way it was ingenious. And I just remember thinking, they don't let up on the hallmarks of the series, but they managed to tweak it, and it comes back to those things: the innovation, the simplicity, and the exploration. They're all kept intact, and that's such a special. They must have like a design chart when they're cooking these things up, like, you know, big tick box. Have we done this?
Yeah.
You know, is this true to what Zelda should be? And shaking up the art.
That's it. I mean, we're going to come to Wind Waker and stuff like that as well. Like,
strongest example.
It's fantastic.
Do you remember when Wind Waker was announced?
No, I don't actually.
I remember like seeing it in games magazines, like New Zelda, Wind Waker, and it's like, cool. And I remember at first thinking, this is too childish. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure, but I've come to love it. And I really appreciate it, because I'm like, it's another example. Making small changes, keep things fresh, adding to that longevity and variety. Because you're right, GTA is just springing to my mind. And I love the GTA games, you know, flaws and all. And they are, but I keep coming back to it, because that's a moment in time as well.
Like things like that, though, like Grand Theft Auto, Horizon, God of War. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the recent God of War games, Uncharted series.
Well, God of War's probably a really interesting example, because that's probably the closest we've seen to them kind of refreshing and making the tweaks.
The difference is it's an example of how they did it in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, you know, the different examples of how Zelda games change through time, it's not a great example. But maybe going from God of War back in the PS3 days to now God of War, that's the example of it. Do you know what I mean? It's class. It's exactly like that.
I mean, maybe that's why you're seeing some modern franchises, and I'll still use the word modern even though they're 20 plus years old. The one that's coming to mind for me is like Halo, right? Now, that obviously was the absolute flag bearer for Xbox. Still is. Still is. And they've tried to make changes, but I think if they maybe took a leaf out of this kind of design book for Zelda as what's what, they've just not changed enough. And that's the thing. They don't change a lot with Zelda games. They really don't. But it could just be, let's just tweak the art. Let's just tweak the gameplay hook.
Yeah.
Let's just do that enough, but we still tick the hallmarks. But instead, it just feels like, it's a horse in the Grand National. It's broke its leg, and they're still making it run the race.
Aye.
That's what it feels like, and you hate to see it because you're like, you remember what it once was, and it's that diminishing returns from like Halo 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Infinite, of course, was good. And
it just always reminds me of that bloody face, and then like the initial like trailers for it.
Right.
If they had that monster, stupid face.
I mean, it's something that I think that we probably do take for granted, though. God of War's a cracking example to compare it to, actually, because I just don't think that. I think that's something that we just so rarely see.
Yeah,
we really
just
see.
Just shaking it up completely, like enough that it's similar. Oh, Jesus. Enough that it's similar, but enough that it's also different.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a secret sauce, I think.
It is 100%. There's game series that could do it. Like, you could have an Uncharted game with a completely different art style, different gameplay tropes, but still carries that same legacy that old Uncharted games have. Like, you could do it with any game series, but Halo's a good one as well, because it is, it's crying out for innovation in it. Like, the biggest thing for Halo 1 for me was that you could have told me that was a remaster of Halo 1, and I'd have been like, fair dues, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the same, so aye.
And it's not like the games that get away with it are like your Call of Duties, your FC25s, those ones that come out every year. And because people are very happy to be like, cool, buy the ticket, take the ride, I'm here for a year, and we'll see what we've got next year. It's that comfort food. But big, massive flag bearer titles,
do it with like a Spider-Man.
You
could have different art styles.
Like
you did with the Miles Morales thing with
that Ultimate
Spider-Man and stuff. You could easily do it. Like, there's things there that, it's not. So it runs the risk of becoming a gimmick at that point, where you throw it in a game and it's just like, it's a wee gimmick and it gets old after 30 minutes. But with Zelda, Zelda.
That's that fake controller coming back.
Man, that is hilarious. With Zelda, they don't, like, they trust in that to be the gimmick. Do you know what I mean? Like, they trust in what they're doing. It's just, it's a fantastic game series, and it's a game series that I wish I had more time with. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. But I mean, you've played many of them, and the highlights all the way through. I think it's probably just, you're not going to pick a bad one. Yeah, that's the thing. And
also, one glaring omission. The biggest glaring omission from all of this,
I know what you're going to say when you go,
is Ganondorf.
The dwarf.
Like, what a phenomenal bad guy.
Speaking of making the changes, right? And Ganondorf, look at his original design compared to what he is now, and the amount of iterations.
Well, that's it. It's and they've made him as iconic as Link. Like, he's in Smash. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not he's not there. It's that he is there front and center.
I've got my Captain America moment here. Right? he's became like Sephiroth in Final Fantasy, in the sense that the villain is just as iconic as the hero.
Oh, 100%. It's that you can't have one. Love and marriage, you know what I mean? You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, I'm making those references.
It's true. No, it is. It's 100% true, though. Like,
if you take everything that we've talked about, right, and we fast forward to current day, and it still stands head and shoulders above many gaming series that we've talked about. Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, they had no right being so good. I think they proved the series can still surprise and delight over 30 years.
Yeah.
That's mental. And that in itself should just be on the sticker box. Like, that's what makes it special. We don't have a lot like it. But in fact, like we've talked about, the quality just tends to diminish and dilute if you don't do these things that we're
what was
about.
Sorry to completely interrupt you here, but what was the game before Breath of the Wild? What was the last Zelda?
It was, good God,
Was it a Link Between Worlds or something on DS?
A Link Between Worlds on DS. Now I don't know if it's Skyward Sword between that as well. But we'll find out.
But I'm just thinking because time does a lot for these games as well. Like,
oh yeah,
the length of time that it took for Breath of the Wild to come out and then hit the way that it did. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's Tears of the Kingdom sold over 20 million copies.
Frightening. It's frightening.
It's not showing any sign of letting up,
nah.
is it? And like you had mentioned right at the start, I think this is really at the heart of it, was it does simple so well.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we need reminding that simple is the most fun. It doesn't have like these big complex systems of presentation, just charm, trust the players, what's in front of them is going to be delightful. And they do that, and that's why I'm buzzing for Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah.
And that's an excuse to get the Switch out from storage, I suppose. Like, all right, mate, remember me?
Wake it up.
I know. It's I'm looking at the list here just now, so it was the Link's Awakening remake technically.
Ah, right, okay.
So Tears of the Kingdom, Skyward Sword HD before that, Link's Awakening, Breath of the Wild, and before that was, I'm not really wanting to count the HD and 3D because we had like Twilight Princess HD, the Triforce Heroes, Majora's Mask 3D, but it was A Link Between Worlds.
Aye, so I remember that coming out.
And then before that, Skyward Sword.
Aye.
So we know the big beats in there, but I suppose
time is a wonderful thing. Like with games like this, because you want them to come back. Like we talk about games like Dino Crisis, Legacy of Kain. We talk about game series that haven't seen the light of day for 20, 30 years, but if they come back, would they still have the excitement and the level of success that a Legend of Zelda will have? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can trust in the fact that they could stop with Tears of the Kingdom. They could stop for another 10 years. Hopefully won't, right? But they could stop for another 10 years and just say, look, we're not making something until we give it time, let it rest.
Yeah.
And in 10 years' time, everyone's going to be literally pissing their pants waiting for this game to come out. And the minute a trailer drops, it is balls to the wall. Everyone's just buzzing for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just...
Absolutely. This is probably one of those, like, take it to the bank series.
Yeah.
I know that when that moment happens, I'm going to be there just, like, running to show my son. It's like, look at this. Look, we must play it.
50-year-old Liam runs over.
Which is much longer away than what you think.
The thing, and also iconic symbols play a part in it. It's like
Triforce.
The Triforce. You see more Triforce tattoos than hot dinners.
Honestly, I was hungry. I've considered it in the past, but then I was like, I don't know if I want to get anything that I could just get in a t-shirt tattooed on me. I'm sure. But to each their own.
Would you ever get a gaming tattoo?
Maybe. I think if I was going to get any pop culture tattoo, it's probably going to be Jurassic Park.
Would you?
Aye. I've on the old Kenner toys and that used to have the JP logo kind of meshed in one thing, and I was like, I'll do that. But it also makes me think they only put that in the dinosaurs. So I'm like, does that mean mark myself as a dinosaur?
Dinosaur. Could do it.
Or a Chaos Theory model.
I've always there's two. I've always wanted Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z tattooed on, but in black and white. So like, I have this image in my head of what I want it to look like, but I could never draw it or figure it out.
So the tattoo artist is there for.
I know. And for games, it's always been like, I thought about getting the old Fox tattoo from Metal Gear Solid, and then I was like, nah, that's a bit annoying now. So
I don't really think we're the type to really display. What it does is it gives something away about yourself. That's probably what it is.
So you have to be like family parties. Like, what's that tattoo? It's like, well, let me tell you about the lore of Metal Gear Solid. There once was a man called Big Boss.
I suppose you could always say, listen to my podcast. We'll do like a special where you just recite do a retrospective on Metal Gear Solid.
Christ.
The 5-hour podcast.
10 years.
But I suppose we've established now why Zelda is special. So now we have the small task of trying to name what the best Zelda game is. So of course, that means that it's time for the Pixel Picks Showdown. where each week we pick a game from our chosen theme and decide which one deserves to live on the hallowed Pixel Picks list, which is our definitive list of the best games we recommend to pass on to the next generation of gamers. The last week's one was a doozy. It was Soulsborne, sorry Sekiro, with Bloodborne becoming the latest addition to the list.
You have to put it in. Twist the knife.
Have to twist the knife. Get the salt in there. So, of course, in this week's showdown, we're of course going to be debating what the best Zelda game is we think should feature on the Pixel Picks list. Now, of course, last week's winner goes last. Now, you did Bloodborne first, so you will go last this week, Scott.
Thank goodness.
I shall go first.
Thank goodness.
So we will get to it. Now, I had a similar response. This might be the first time I've had an honourable mention the same, like, twice.
Right, okay.
Not from last week, but it's the first time I've picked it again, and I'm battering my mic because I'm angry about it.
So angry.
But looking back at all the Zelda series this week ahead of this podcast has really made me think, like, what can I say hand on heart? I feel like someone was to say, what's the best game? And I'd blot it out, and it wasn't this one. That's how I came down to it. So this is why it's my honourable mention, because I still hold it so close to my heart.
Best Zelda game.
Best Zelda game.
Best game's like.
All right, sorry.
Zelda,
best Zelda game. But the one for my honourable mention is Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Of course, which I absolutely adore.
Mm-hmm.
I think I really appreciated that slight shift in tone just to be a little bit more darker and oppressive and weird.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
That's the good thing about it, is it embraces that weirdness.
Yeah. It's so abstract and its art style as well. And, the structure of the game, of course, just kind of putting that time limit mechanic with the 3 days in there, just added to this overall great sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a dread to it as well. You're basically just absolutely cacking yourself at the consequence if you don't get this right. And, exploring Termina over that 3-day structure to stop that impending doom via giant dramatic moon face.
It's the best face ever.
It just stays with you,
it's
though, man.
So good.
It's so ridiculous looking, but at the same time, it sends chills down your spine as a kid.
I love watching that scene sometimes. Like when it finally crashes down, it's like, oh,
aye, and
it's so good.
And as well, we talk a lot about the dwarf, right? But my Skull Kid absolutely infuriated the life out of me because you kick off that game and he's pinched the Ocarina of Time and Epona as well, and you're like, you absolute fiend.
Taking this.
And, he's probably did infuriate me more than Ganondorf, if I'm honest,
How dare you?
I know, but I'm talking about annoyance instead of,
I know what you mean.
Grand evil. So I have to put Majora's Mask as my honourable mention yet again.
It's a fine mention.
It's a fine mention. But
It's kind of like always the bridesmaid. Like,
oh, exactly.
Like it's always a bridesmaid, never the bride. In the series, it does so much already well, but there is always maybe one or two in the series that just kind of be like, you're good, but I'm getting married today, hen.
That's it. I mean, if this is very much the X-Pac within the roster. I've got to name the Triple H at this point. Which
we have to, right after we do this, we have to pick the D-Generation X members for Zelda games.
Okay,
right?
I'm up for that. But I'll give you my pick this week.
Right.
It had to be Tears of the Kingdom. It just had to be. I think few games leave me speechless in sheer appreciation for what it's done. And of course, there's recency bias in this, but I'm also looking at it, at the achievement that is this game, and Tears has done that. I was skeptical going into that game just because I couldn't fathom how could they top Breath of the Wild. And I even remember saying to you in the lead up to it, I was like, I have a funny feeling that this might be the one. We'll start seeing the 7s and 8s coming out, and you're like, no, it'll be 10s. And of course, it was 10s, it was 11s, you name it. And, I was thinking to myself, how can they top it? And also, can I be asked? That was the thing that was really getting me. I was like, can I be asked? And it turns out the answer to everything, all those kind of anxieties was yes. I lost myself in that game. I mean, it delivered that sense of adventure and that wonder just in a way that could be described as borderline therapeutic.
Yeah.
And I think at the time, I probably wasn't in the best headspace, so I really needed that, escapism, which was great. And it was my journey, and it's the same for every player, that it delivers that to feel the same. We're all still doing this same story, but our journeys to get there completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. Absolutely love that. And it even got me outdoors at one point. That's how good the game was. I know. I came out the cave. But I remember I craved that sense of just being lost and wandering, just the same way I would when I was younger, roaming Edinburgh. And it was just made me feel so much more free than what I'd ever had before, just even playing that game. It delivered that just from the comfort of my couch sitting on my ass, which was great. So, I mean, I did consider putting Breath of the Wild on there because you're like, that what so this one could run.
But Tears of the Kingdom ran. It ran with it like
sprinted, man, and it iterates and expands on the storytelling, the mechanics, the world depth. Going down to the depths, and then obviously the sky temples, and it shattered any hope of going back to Breath of the Wild for me. I mean,
I think you tried it, did you not?
I did try it, and it's not that it's bad. It's just I'm missing the stuff, and I've not even got onto like the sheer sense of creativity in that game, like with the fusing system and being able to literally make anything you want. They actively are just like, right, if you can find a shortcut around this puzzle using these abilities, go for it.
Go for it.
Nothing's off limits. And you're so trained in a way for like a game. Like, how many times have you seen like something reach this platform, but it wants you to take the long way down where you like that? I could just jump down there.
Yeah.
And then you do it, and then it just automatically kills you and you start a game. This game rewards you for doing it, which is mental. And some of the contraptions, like people making, mechazoids and stuff like that, and the rocket bikes with the fans and all that.
The best ones were the ones that were like tortured in the wee Korok guys. Like, saw someone do like a crucifix with one of them one time and just like walking it through Hyrule. It's great.
Oh man,
so funny.
But I mean, it's quite possibly one of the best games of all time. A stunning achievement, and it has to be my pick this week. It has to be.
It's a fine pick.
A fine indeed.
It is a very fine pick. Which leads me on to my own. I've also written down all the members of D-Generation X and started making my own list here.
Okay.
But I thought long and hard with my history in the series because it would be easy for me to say, if Ocarina of Time wasn't already on the list, I could have said that, right? But it's not my pick. I don't have much love for things like I liked playing Majora's Mask, but it's not mine. So my honourable mention was my same as my honourable mention the other week, and it's going to be Twilight Princess, just because I love it.
Yep.
And I want to have it known that it is my favourite in the series. I love the story in it. I love the fact that you can transform into a wolf, and everything gets dark, and you have to chase wee lights and stuff. It's class. I love it. I love Midna. I love everything about it. Like, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it because I can remember the story beats and stuff, and remember being wee and playing it, and it's like being wee.
Hey.
But I just remember playing it and being like, this is great. Like, no Legend of Zelda game has hit me like that before that point. And then one did. And it is obviously Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, yes.
It has to be. It's, as you say, it does everything that Breath of the Wild done, but, turned it up to 11. Like, it's just, it's as good as I think any Zelda game could ever be.
Absolutely.
Unless, Zelda, Nintendo will prove me wrong on that, because the next game will come out, they'll give you money for everything that you pick up. Do you know what I mean? Like something daft. But there's always this gimmick, and the gimmick in that game is you can just build things. Like, you can fanny about for hours in that whole thing and just build whatever you want. And it works.
It does.
Like, it shouldn't work. You're playing this game on a Nintendo Switch. Like,
how they've crammed that.
How?
It's mental.
Imagine this on like a PlayStation 5. Like, it would be, it beggars belief how it works.
Magic.
And like, even the things where you shift up, you know what I mean? Like, you can just go through things and go up. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, by all accounts, this game shouldn't work.
No,
it should be too much, and the game should run terribly. But the game is it's gorgeous from start to finish. And you know what? It's the best version of Zelda, the actual character Zelda that we've ever had.
Yeah.
Like, her story the whole way through that is phenomenal.
God, so when you reach the end of it,
and it's just, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's like, and then you just see it and it's like, oh, but you know, it's a game that I don't think I'll ever play again. It's one of those one and done situations where I had my experience with it. I've done everything that I want to do. You know, I've met all the different characters that I want to meet. I've built everything that I want to build, and I've got all the story that I wanted to get out of it. But just the emotional attachment that I had to that game when it came out, like I played that for 80 odd hours, maybe even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I played it down in Center Parks with like all the family. They're sitting playing cards, and I'm just like, I can't do it. I'm actually just like, I need to play this game.
It was totally compulsive at the time.
It was. Like, it's just, and I think what it done differently from Breath of the Wild, and the reason why it didn't work so much was that I felt like with Breath of the Wild, you were always, you know, I know you could go anywhere you wanted to, but it always kind of felt that you had to you were tied into this one wee route. It always felt that way for me. Whereas with this, you're up in the sky and that's you. Just do what you want. Like, you go your own way. You know what I mean? Dropping random references here. But it's just, you know, it is an absolute incredible achievement for Nintendo. And it could only have been Tears of the Kingdom. It really could have, because it's outstanding. And it is a game that down the line I would be happy to say to children of my own, children in the family, to say, look, you have to play this.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
it's timeless. Like, and a lot of the games in that series are, but you're right, it could only be Tears of the Kingdom. And I know there may be, I'm thinking of one of my friends just now who's a big Zelda fan, and he would probably punch me for not picking Ocarina, but I'm like, it's not that I dislike Ocarina, but for me it's like Majora's Mask pips it.
Yeah.
And I know Breath of the Wild is just a much better game. Now, he didn't really like Tears of the Kingdom because it was just the same again, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
But it's better.
Yeah.
It's true. That's the one thing that can't be argued. It's like, it's just better. And probably the only market against it is that exploring Hyrule might feel a little bit repetitive, but it felt so much more lived in than Breath of the Wild, where it was obviously a big like war had passed.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just felt like the odds were greater against you in in Tears of the Kingdom. Getting confused between the two. But I mean, that carries on. Echoes of Wisdom's coming out, and it's going to be having that element of like, here, we're giving you this ability to just do what you want, figure out your own solutions. And that is so tantalising. It's only word to put on that. But yeah, I think that wraps that one up. I mean, congratulations to Tears of the Kingdom. You are officially on the Pixel Picks list as the best game in the Legend of Zelda
Easily
series.
The best Zelda game. Easily. And
I'm taking that W, by the way, so that's
quite right. You deserve it.
Before we finish, we've got this one small task of naming the stable.
Right. So, I'll give you the ones that I've picked so far.
Right, okay.
And you can tell me if you agree or not.
Okay, shoot.
So Triple H is Ocarina of Time because it's second best to Tears of the Kingdom, because Shawn Michaels is obviously Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay, now I agree. Right, that's fine.
Right.
Yep.
I can't think of Billy Gunn and Road Dogg. I can't think of what I would want them to be. Obviously, we agreed that X-Pac was Majora's Mask.
Yep.
China is Link's Awakening.
Yep.
Don't know why she's Link's Awakening, but she is, because she's good in her own right. Like, she's good where she is, and she was great. Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, they're kind of...
I mean, for me, for Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, which is a very strong like tag team, I would put Wind Waker and Spirit Tracks.
Wind Waker, who's who?
I would say Billy
Gunn's Wind Waker.
And Road Dogg is Spirit Tracks, because he's obviously the weaker of the two, but they go hand in hand. You know, okay. That's really it. There's also the other one. It was a sequel to Spirit Tracks, but I've completely forgot what it is. Christ, what was it now?
So Triple H is the Ocarina of Time. That's so stupid.
There's an image that we're not going to get out of our head anytime soon.
There was no other members of DX, was there? I mean, you wouldn't count Rick Rude in DX, would you? No, I know he was there for a bit, but
or Mike Tyson. You know, I mean, they were not NWO. Put it that way, but they had
a million.
In fact, Phantom Hourglass. That was it.
That was it.
I forget. Phantom Hourglass wasn't as good as Spirit Tracks. Still a great game though. Yeah, so if you were ever wondering what Zelda games make up DX, now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know. But of course, that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. So thank you once again for joining us. And if you like what you hear and enjoy the podcast, just leave us a wee 5-star review, share, tell your pals. It would be fantastic. We'd love to have more of you join us each week. It makes a massive difference. And of course, Scott, it means that it's test time. So where can people find you online?
Llamaman91. My new gimmick is going to be which wrestler is which video game.
There we go. Can't wait to see it.
It's quite stupid actually. That's really really daft, but
I've lit a fire.
It's quite cool. I like the thought of that.
Of course, if you want to catch up with myself online, you can find me at Carmelite on Twitter. And of course, thank you to our wonderful producer and music man, the talented and handsome Mr. Sean Murray, who is
so hard working,
putting in them hours.
Oh, he is.
He's putting in them hours. I want that appreciation for this man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to getting him on this podcast.
I want him on now, actually.
Yeah, because it's going to be a cracker. I'm looking forward to it. Because he has some things to say about some games that I am a big fan of. So that's going to be really good, especially for all of you retro appreciation gamers out there. It's getting to that time of night.
He started a sentence that he couldn't finish there.
I know, it's age. That's it. That's it. It happens at my age. And of course, you can listen to the next episode on all major podcast platforms and follow us on Twitter at Pixel_Parents.
And also check out the
Pixel Reacts.
Reacts to the State of Play.
It'll be right underneath this one on your feed. That's dead easy.
Honestly, still can't believe that Xbox was there and Miyamoto showed up.
Unreal. Could you believe it? Well, of course, if you can't, write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. Getting good at this, eh?
Aye.
Of course, until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and thanks for listening.
Play Alan Wake 2, please. Please.